Welcome to the Heal Your Hunger Show, where we get to the heart of why you overeat and how to stop. If you struggle with food and weight like I did, welcome home. Welcome everybody to the Heal Your Hunger Show. So happy to have you here. It is a great day to be alive, and you're going to love my guest today. This is such an important conversation about hormones, and I'm excited to have you meet my guest. But before we jump into that topic, I just want to say, if you're here for the first time, welcome. So happy to have you here at the Heal Your Hunger Show. We talk about deeper issues that drive emotional eating. So we're not talking about food and weight per se, but what's really driving our eating, what's driving our stubborn, weight that likes to hang on forever. We want to get to the bottom of why we overeat and how to stop and really how to release those pounds, because a lot of times it's emotional. So thanks for being here. And just know that this is recorded in the Secret Sauce group, which is a group on Facebook that you are welcome to join. So the Secret Sauce to End Emotional Eating is where you go on Facebook. You can ask questions of my guests when I'm recording there, which is a super cool benefit of being a part of the group. But we also support you all throughout the week with different opportunities to get support and get feedback. And also just inspirational posts and that kind of thing. So be a part of it. And also you get to hear what's going on first, before anyone else. So speaking of which, we have the Quit Sugar Challenge coming up really soon. So just next month. So please go to quitsugarchallenge.com and sign up. We're opening registration in just a few days. You can get on the wait list and learn about it right as we open registration, but be a part of the Quit Sugar Challenge. My goodness, don't try to fight sugar on your own. It's the hardest of all addictions to overcome. And I make it super simple for you in 5 easy days where you join us for 1 hour of class and 1.5 hours of class. And you get a special workbook. You get over 30 recipes and so much information on how to, swap out your sugary foods for yummy sweet swaps, which don't have any sugar, but are still yummy, amazing recipes. Also where sugar is hiding in your diet, because you might be thinking you're being healthy, but you're still eating sugar and you're still being set up to fail. So lots of other amazing information where, different names for sugar, ways to start addressing emotional eating if you keep going back to sugar. So we cover it all. It's really fun. You do it in community with other people who are ready to just be healthier, feel better, cut the blow, and even lose a few pounds, because that usually happens too within those 5 days. So go to quitsugarchallenge.com. I can't wait for you to be a part of this amazing journey of quitting sugar together. So much easier to do when we do it together. Okay, on with the show. I'm really excited to be here right now to introduce you to a good friend of mine who's written an amazing book. And I really think there's some really important tips and things in here that we as women need to know. So let me introduce you first to Dr. Shawn Tassone, who is on a mission to reach as many women as possible in every stage of life, helping them to find solutions for hormone imbalance and teaching them how to navigate through their struggles with fatigue, weight gain, decreased libido, and hormonal fluctuations. Dr. Tassone is a double board certified physician in OB/GYN with emphasis on integrative medicine. And for the past 20 years, he's seen over 40,000 patients and will continue to do so. But he has just come out with his newest book called the Hormone Balance Bible that's being released now. So the Hormone Balance Bible is a proven roadmap to wellness. And I'm going to let him tell you more about it. But hi, Shawn, good to see you.
Hey, yeah, we were just saying how it's been over a year.
Yeah, I know. The last time was in Hawaii, which was a great way to see somebody. Yeah. but on account of COVID, we haven't seen each other. So it's wonderful to see you. Congratulations on your book.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So I'm really excited to dig into this. I'll talk about me first because it's my favorite topic. So I'm 53 and I'm just starting to have some fluctuations, some aberrations in my period. So I'm kind of a late bloomer, I think, in terms of menopause, but There are a lot of women, and we have women of all ages here in the Secret Sauce group, and who are be listening to the podcast. And so, but for somebody who's in my stage right now, kind of perimenopause, is it okay to start there?
Sure. Menopause.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, for a lot of women, that kind of is where they start.
Yeah.
And I have this kind of theory about menopause in the sense that a lot of women have that kind of extra 10 to 15 pound weight gain right around the menopause. And I kind of think that's your body's way of protecting you against the loss of estrogen, because fat, as opposed to what many people think, does have two things that it does very well. And the fatter you are, the more you weigh, you stress your bones, so you prevent yourself from getting osteoporosis. And number two is fat cells make estrogen. So when you are in menopause, your body wants to hang on to that extra fat because it's trying to protect itself. So your body's kind of doing what it's supposed to do. But we don't want to gain extra weight. So that's where I think when you do hormone replacement or you talk about hormones and menopause, it's more for the women that want to make it easier to lose that 10 pounds. Because if your body senses that it has the estrogen, testosterone, it's, I think, more likely to let that extra weight go.
Okay. So you're a proponent of that, the hormone replacement therapy?
Yeah, and I think it's just, it's informed consent, talk about the risks, talk about the benefits. I think what happened to us as a species, which is a good thing, is we started living longer so much faster. Like a couple hundred years ago, there wasn't a whole lot of menopause because women didn't live that long.
Right.
And now that we're living into our 90s productively, the ovaries just haven't evolutionarily had a chance to keep up. And so I look at it as giving you and it's not about, I want to be 25 again. It's about, I want to be comfortable and I want to have my life back so I can do the things that I want to do to stay healthy.
Totally. Amen to that. I want at least 35, 40 more years. So, and good years at that, right?
Yeah,
so
life. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if I'm not having symptoms other than an irregular period, do I need to do anything to gear up for where I'm going?
I think the symptoms that a lot of women also, everybody knows about hot flashes and mood swings, but some of the things that women have that they may not associate with menopause or hormone imbalances, perimenopause, insomnia is a huge one.
Ooh, got that.
Yeah, and that's because of progesterone deficiencies. Usually, progesterone upregulates your GABA receptors so that it relaxes you. And a lot of women will also have this kind of anxiety just during the daytime, and that's progesterone deficiency. Another one is just kind of like feeling like you want to take a nap around 4 p.m. That is low testosterone. Hair thinning, low testosterone, low thyroid. We talk about weight gain, but irregular periods, and that's not like a life-changing thing. But a lot of those things like insomnia, I know, and a lot of people know that sleep is probably the most important thing that you can do to stay healthy.
Yeah.
And if you're constantly either having a hard time falling asleep or waking up all the time, that could very well be a progesterone issue.
Gosh, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, for 3 years, I'm up for a couple hours a night, in the middle of the night. It's just, I've gotten so used to it. I don't think of it as anything really to worry about, but
you adapt. You do what you got to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So what are some other symptoms of menopause that people should be looking out for?
Another one that a lot of women maybe don't talk about, vaginal dryness, maybe a little bit of an increase in urinary incontinence, because the vaginal mucosa and musculature very sensitive to estrogen and estrogen deprivation. So you can get itching in the vaginal area, you can dryness, which then translates into painful sex. There's also obviously the decreased libido, just because with low testosterone levels, it just kind of It's not necessarily directly related to libido, but if you're tired, if you don't feel well, if you don't feel like yourself, then sex is going to be kind of taking a back seat because you just
Right.
don't feel good. But
Yeah.
yeah, those are some big ones.
Yeah. And obviously, in this group, the weight gain is a big bummer for people. So, can you talk more specifically about hormone replacement therapy and how to go about getting that or testing for that, and recommendations you have around that?
So the testing that I am a proponent of, primarily going to be serum or blood. And I say that because blood is covered by insurance.
Okay.
Blood is extremely accurate because it's what's in your blood. Blood results come back relatively quickly within a few days. Blood also can check thyroid and vitamin D, which urine usually cannot very well. The limitations with blood is that it's only accurate when that needle is in your arm. So it doesn't tell me what you're doing, 8 hours later. It's more of a data point. And so it's a little bit limited in that sense. Urine is another modality that I use. Urine is great because it's a 24-hour screen. So it gives me more information instead of just a snapshot. It's more of a movie about your day. It checks cortisol, which blood does not, checks melatonin, checks vitamin B levels. It also checks metabolites of estrogen. So we can see how you're processing and getting rid of your estrogen metabolites. The downside with urine is that it doesn't check thyroid, it doesn't check vitamin D, and it takes about 3 weeks to get the results back and costs around $350.
So, do you recommend people do both so they can cover all bases, or I mean, is that a customary thing to do?
I have a lot of women that will do both. They'll do the blood and we'll get those results right away. And that way we can start working on stuff quickly. Since I'm going to have to do thyroid anyways, we'll check all that out. And then what they'll do is they'll send off the urine before I start them on hormones. So when we get that back in about 3 weeks, I can back up what I saw on the blood, but I can also then make some recommendations based on their cortisol levels and the way they metabolize their estrogen.
Got it. Is the majority of people that you see, I mean, I would assume, is it middle-aged women or is it women of all ages?
I would say majority, I see women from 14 to 75, but I would say the biggest population is probably that 35 to 55 age group.
Got it. So so you get the numbers, right? You figure out what they're deficient in, what they're needing. What's a typical, like, what do you find yourself prescribing the most?
The number one, hormone imbalance. So one of the places that I like women to start, and it's free and it's easy. It's not a blood test, so it's a quiz that I have, and I know quizzes are kind of cliche now, but
I love quizzes. Quizzes are great.
I have about 36 questions, so it's a little bit more involved.
Okay.
And it will give you kind of what I feel like, based on the way you answer, what imbalance you might be starting out with. And so I've had probably 25,000 women take the quiz.
Wow.
I always thought that estrogen dominance was going to be the big one, or estrogen deprivation, like menopause. But far and away, across the board, in all age groups, it's testosterone deficiency. I mean, like, far and away, it's not even close. Close second is estrogen or a second is estrogen dominance. So testosterone deficiency in women is kind of I call it the plague of the 21st century, because one, medicine is not set up for women and testosterone deficiency. We have 10 or 12 different types of replacement for men that are FDA approved. We have no FDA approved testosterone replacement for women, so we have to compound it. And it's just because I think the medical field or the FDA doesn't think that women need to have testosterone, and I completely disagree with that.
Right. Oh, that is so incredible. And so compounding, are most of your compounds in the form of supplements or creams, or is it whichever?
So compounding hormones, you have that done at a compounding pharmacy. Usually I'll start with creams, and it's only because creams, I can put estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA. I can put any of those things in the cream, and it's only one prescription. So it's only one cost for the patient, and that's usually around $45 a month. If it's something where sometimes with patients, I get a little more specific. I might pull out the progesterone and use it as a capsule. Sometimes I get patients that don't absorb very well. Like I'll put them on the cream and their numbers don't change at all, and they're probably not absorbing. I'll give them a sublingual tablet that they can use. The downside to sublinguals is they get an immediate release, and then over the course of the day, it kind of tapers down. Whereas if I can get a cream to work, it's more of a steady kind of state.
Interesting. Now, my sister, just going personal again, my sister had, when she started going through menopause, she got very crepey skin, and it was so devastating to her. She was so bummed out about it. Like she just had that wrinkly, crepey skin. And the minute she started doing hormones, it got better. Like other things were not as good, but that was like fixed from hormones. And that amazed me.
Well, so the thing about skin, and you've probably had Tony Yoon on here, our friend that's a plastic. There have been some studies done with estrogen therapy on skin, and estrogen actually will thicken the skin layers, and that's why that crepey, when it goes away. The other thing immediately that estrogen does is it retains water in the cells. So when you have that crepey skin, if you start on estrogen therapy, you immediately start holding on to some of that fluid again.
Right.
And water retention sounds horrible, but the reality is we're about 80% water. So if your skin loses a lot of water, it's going to get that crepey sensation. So yes, it can definitely help skin.
Okay, that was the thing she was bummed about. Is her face was fuller. It's like you got to pick your poison, right? So she was happy her skin wasn't crepey, but she didn't like her face being fuller.
Yeah, full faces. I think, actually that's a younger appearance, but that's why women get, a lot of men too, I guess, get the injections in their faces with the hyaluronic acid, because a fuller face is actually younger. When women age, and men for that matter, we lose fat in our faces. So your eyes can look a little more gaunt, your cheeks can look a little more gaunt, which I will never have a problem with. Thin cheeks, I've just always had them. But that's what can help. And estrogen can, like you said with your sister, can give you that kind of that fuller face.
Yeah. And then is this supplementation, like, do you do this for the rest of your life, or is there just a certain period or window that you do this?
ACOG, which is the American College of OBGYN, has been pretty vocal about recommending most women try for at least a couple of years, especially past menopause. There has been an ongoing study since the Women's Health Initiative came out about 12 years ago and scared everybody about hormones. What they did was they followed women now for 10 years that have started hormonal therapy, and there hasn't really been an increase in breast cancer rates. So the Women's Health Initiative initially, when it came out, said that there was an increased risk and blah, blah, blah. This was all the stuff we already knew. It was already in the package inserts. And the study studied Prempro, which was a synthetic horse-derived estrogen, and Provera, which is medroxyprogesterone, which is also, in my opinion, kind of a nasty drug. And so we don't know if it correlates into bioidentical hormones or not, but here's my spiel is that, look, estrogen doesn't cause breast cancer. If it did, then every woman would get breast cancer. But if you have a cancer cell that has an estrogen receptor on it, you could stimulate that cancer cell to grow because you're giving it what it has a receptor for. So yeah, and a woman that's had estrogen receptor positive cancer, and I do have a couple of women that are cancer survivors that want to be on estrogen because they can't live the life that they want to live without it, and they're willing to take the risk, and we have long conversations about it. But anytime somebody goes on hormones, it's like any other medication. There's risks and there's benefits.
Yeah, got it. Okay. So when we talk about hormone replacement therapy, though, we're talking about bioidentical hormones. Is that correct?
In my practice, yeah, that's all I use.
Got it. Okay. So just so people know the differentiation, and otherwise
you don't have to do compounded, though. I think a lot of people, when they think about bioidentical hormones, think it has to be compounded. There are bioidentical hormones. There's Prometrium, which is now generic, which is a bioidentical progesterone. Estrase has been around for decades. That is estradiol. There's generic estradiol. I don't prefer oral estrogens. We know that when you take estrogens orally, one, they have more of a propensity to break down into 4-methoxyestrone, which is more of a cancer-causing metabolite, versus topical doesn't have that same propensity. So if you can take your estrogen topically versus orally, that's probably better.
Okay, good to know. This is really good stuff, Sean. Thank you so much. Hey, would you be willing for people to put questions in the chat, and then we can go back a little bit later? You know, I can have you be in the group, and then you could answer any questions people have.
Of course.
That'd be awesome. So let's talk about your amazing and beautiful book, which is also a big book.
Yeah, good size.
Yeah. So how did this come about? What prompted you to write the Hormone Bible?
So for years, I've talked to women about hormonal issues like I'm talking with you right now. And what I noticed was over the decades, there were certain storylines that kept coming up and up and up. And they were kind of a hormonal storyline. And I discerned about 12 of these, and I call them hormonal archetypes. So what happened was, is as I talked to them, and rather than saying, oh, you have estrogen dominance, if I would tell the story of estrogen dominance through the storyline of what I call the queen, say, and there's off with your head type queens, there's benevolent queens, but, you know, and then I started talking to them, they're like, yes, that's exactly me. Or low cortisol, which I call the saboteur, because women that have low cortisol, they've sabotaged their own health because they're taking care of everybody else, their job, their family, all these people, but they're not taking care of themselves, their cortisol from burnout.
Yeah, we got a lot of those here, by the way.
And if I tell them the story, I would see light bulbs go off. So what I did was I came up with these 12 archetypes, and then I have a 6-step process that I call Shines that corrects each one of these 12 imbalances. And Shines is each of the 12 has a spiritual practice, hormone modulation that you can do, infoceuticals, which is kind of a fancy word for the energetic aspects of medicine, like Reiki and acupuncture, essential oils, nutrition, exercise, and supplementation. And that just all got compiled into the book.
I love that stuff. That's great. How it's like multidisciplinary.
Yes.
So,
well, and that's part of my background. You know, I did the OBGYN. I got a 2-year fellowship in the Integrative Medicine, and then I went off and did a 6-year PhD in mind body stuff. And so I kind of, you know, it's funny because you come out with a book and it seems like you kind of came out of nowhere, but the reality is that it's been, you know, 15, 12 years in the process, you know?
Yeah, good for you, Sean. That is so amazing. And so much, I mean, now that you just explained the Shines, I love that. And that makes it all the more enticing to know that it's not just a doctor's recommendation of regular, you know, pharmaceuticals or just, you know, really Western medicine. But
the great thing about Shines is that 80% of it is self-care. It's just stuff you can do on your own. The only time you need me or somebody like me is if you want to do the actual hormones.
Yeah, I love that. So important. And we're really big into self-care here in the Heal Your Hunger universe for sure.
Yeah.
That's a whole lot of how we overcome emotional eating. So I love that. So if somebody gets this, and now it's called the Hormone Balance Bible, which I love. Is this a front to back read, or is this a pick it up and you've got different places you decide to, you know, dog ear or what?
So at the beginning, actually, interestingly enough, there's actually a QR code in the beginning.
Nice.
And the QR code will take you right to the quiz. So you can start there if you want to start. And then what you can do is there is the way that it's broken up is into the archetypes. So there's a section on the 12 archetypes. So you can just go right to, say, testosterone deficiency is the nun. You can go right to that. And then the last, I always joke because when you're testosterone deficiency, you don't want none and you ain't getting none.
Yeah.
But the last half of the book is all about the Shines protocol. And there's a section on each archetype and what to do for the Shines. And yeah, like you said, it's about 500 pages. So I wouldn't read it front to back. But the beauty is, if you test one month and you have low testosterone and you go back a year later and you want to test again, you could be, you know, the wise woman, which is menopause. And then there's a couple that are combos like estrogen dominance and cortisol excess. So estrogen dominance is the queen, cortisol excess is what I call the overachiever. or I'm sorry, the workaholic and the queen, if you put those two together, you get the chairwoman, because they're cortisol excess, they're estrogen dominant, they're just burning the candle at both ends with a blowtorch.
Okay. So, and is there much of your humor in this book? Because you just let us see a little bit just there with the nun comment, but you guys probably aren't totally picking up on it, but Shawn is a riot. This guy has had me dying and rolling in stitches.
So my Instagram page has a lot of my humor. Actually, what's funny is our friend Tony Yoon and I, we just recorded something on Friday where we're doing on his YouTube page, we're doing gynecologist versus plastic surgeon.
Oh, nice.
To see who the king of doctors is. And we do stupid things like hold our breath and what's this worst smell you've ever smelled, that's actually a pretty funny one. So a lot of my humor comes out in that. The book is kind of a combo. Like I talk about my mom passing away when I was 32, and that's kind of what set me on my journey about all this. But then I do have some funny stuff in there, but it's a little bit of seriousness. And it's just what's really interesting is that this is not, obviously I'm a male in a female field. And so you've got other doctors like Aviva Rohn and Sarah Gottfried, and they're women. And it's like, why would I want to read a book by a guy? And the reality is this book is not coming, it's from me, but it's really the stories of the thousands of women that I've seen in the past. And how I did was just sit there. I got the pleasure of sitting there and listening, and then just combining all the stories.
I love that. That's a really important point that you made. And you've heard it all, I'm sure. And I have seen some of your funny social media things about some of the things you've heard. So how do people find you on social? Is Instagram the best social platform?
I've got a big Facebook. It depends on age groups too. You know, a lot of Facebook people, a lot of Instagram. It's just my name, Shawn Tassone, MD, on Instagram and Facebook. The book right now, you might have a link for them if you want to put it up that they can use. There's also some other cool things. As the book's launching in 2 weeks, we're giving away a bunch of free stuff. A lab tracker, which is really cool because it doesn't just have the normal ranges, but it has what I think are optimal ranges for all the different labs. So you can just kind of plug those in and see where you're at, and maybe bring it to your doctor and see if they'll be happy to listen to you about how you're feeling. There's a recipe book. There's all kinds of cool stuff.
Wow.
So
that's awesome. And is there an easy link? Because I'm happy to have you mention it here too.
You can go to my website, tassonemd.com, or it's obviously available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon and all those.
Okay. Well, congratulations on your amazing book and all the people that it will serve, no doubt. I can't wait to read it. So thank you for that. And we, again, are recording this in the Secret Sauce group on Facebook. So if you are watching on Facebook, please write your comments, and Dr. Tassone can go in later and answer any questions you might have. So that's an extra benefit of being a part of the Secret Sauce group for sure. And if you're listening later as a podcast episode, please be sure to share it with all the women that you love, because they need to hear this information as well. So thank you for doing that. And Shawn, you're awesome. I love you so much. And I have one last question for you that I always ask my guests, and that is, this being the Heal Your Hunger show, what is your deepest hunger?
Gosh, I've done a lot of therapy. So what is my biggest hunger?
I guess that's too deep a question.
No. So I have three things in life that I think: you've got your finances, you've got your relationships, and you've got your health. And I think for me right now, and it changes, but right now I really hunger for myself being healthy. I'm kind of in that age group at 53 where I got to do my colonoscopy again, and I got to do my CT scan for calcium, and I'm trying to get all this stuff together, but also live a healthy lifestyle, which is hard when you're busy. But I think right now that's where and I'll tell you the hardest part for me, as a kid whose parents were divorced when they were 5, and I've been divorced, food for me is a comfort and always has been. I'm Italian. Grandmother fed us all the time. And And so for me, it's hard to make sometimes those good food choices, because I will go when I have a headache, or if I feel badly about myself, I go to food.
Yeah.
And it's not a salad,
Yeah. No, we never crave the lettuce.
Exactly. So that's what I would hunger for right now, is just keeping on that healthy track.
I love that. And, you deserve that. And we need you to, because we need you doing your amazing work in the world. So thanks for being so transparent about that, and sending many blessings along those lines. So thank you so much. So great to have you here. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next show. Please subscribe if you're on YouTube. Please share and comment, or in the Facebook group, and also in iTunes. If you will, please leave a review. It will help us reach more people. So Sean, you're the best. Thank you. Good luck with the book. And thanks for stopping by.
If you enjoyed this podcast and want to get free support, insider health info, exclusive invites to events, and more, visit healyourhunger.com.